Welcome back, fellow travelers. I'm DJ Nettie P over here talking about Adventure Time, and
my name is Russell Tyndall.
You're not Russell Tyndall.
I'm not Russell Tyndall.
Poor Rusty Boy has a run-in with the virus. He doesn't have it, but he's been exposed this week, so it's a little bit of a bummer, man.
Yeah, it was sad to see that text. It was just a couple hours ago, right before we started recording, and I had to get all my notes ready, but I'm going to rip off some of his and not give him any credit.
I know, man. Well, I'm pumped. It's the second time you've been on the show. We did, which one was the one last season? It was a Gut Grinder episode we had with you, right?
Yes, Gut Grinder.
Yeah, because we were going through those little like villages of people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I got a much better episode this time, but it was maybe.
Yeah, well, okay. So this week we are talking about crystals have power. And it is the return of tree trunks, which I think, honestly, it needed to happen in season 2 for sure. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I there's a lot of, I want to talk about that specific crystal at the end because I've got my own sort of theoretical thing about it. But
bringing in the segments over here, Mike.
Maybe. I don't want to call it a segment. I don't know if I'm worthy of that, but I'm going to bring up Russell's theoretically speaking later for sure.
Good. Because I know, the crystal at the end kind of, I was like, okay, that's interesting that it just came out and opened a portal. So I was like, okay, that's a little interesting, but we'll get to it. We'll get to that.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly kind of where my head was at with that.
Well, I mean, so the interesting thing when I started this episode out was that like Finn's been left a crystal on his doorstep and he doesn't know where it's come from. It's got some lipstick on it and he's Googling on his little like hollow computer, whatever. I don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. But I was just surprised. I was like, okay, so we haven't even thought about tree trunks since season 1. They gave no explanation why she exploded when she ate the apple out of the tree in the crystal forest, the dark forest, whatever it was. And I was like, okay, so like, did you just think tree trunks was dead and that's it? And we just never cried or talked about it again?
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, there's moments of silly surrounding a serious moment, which is the theme in this show. They just kind of, they're joking, tough man contest, like blah, 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 blah. We're laughing. Oh, you remember when tree trunks exploded in the forest? And Finn was like, oh yeah, I remember that.
You remember when we helped murder an old lady, cute little elephant lady?
Yeah. It's a crazy, I call it the Ted Lasso effect. Have you seen that show?
I haven't watched it yet. We haven't like shelled out for the free Apple TV or whatever. Yeah. But is it like what, like you're taking serious concepts and masking it in this?
No, I was more so taking, he has a saying, he's like, be a goldfish. Forget about your mistake. He's a coach. So he's like, if you do something bad, I need you to be a goldfish. I need you to just get back in it and forget that you did that. In this scenario, it's like, well, they kind of tend to just forget what happened 8 seconds ago, no matter how devastating it was. And they can just like high five and go get, apple pie if they want to. You got to watch Ted Lasso if you haven't.
I do. I know. It's like when there was 15,000 people who did Halloween costumes of it this year, I was like, okay, this is obviously trendy enough to where I need to at least do it for like pop culture reference sake at this point. Yeah,
it's quality TV. That's all I'll say.
Good quality TV. So is Adventure Time.
We wouldn't be 38 episodes in if it wasn't.
I know. Is this 30? Wait, hold on. This is 36.
I could be totally right. It is 36. That's my bad.
We're on episode 36. Guys, I should know. So don't worry. You haven't missed any episodes or anything like that. But so I mean, we start off. They do that. Then Jake's like, obviously, Mr. Distraction. I just want to have tough guy competition. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there was 3 rounds, and I was like, they don't compare well. You know what I mean?
No. Jake is either. I said something about this, but like he tries either too hard or not hard enough. Yeah. Jake in this whole episode, is on this pendulum of like, I'm either gonna be too soft or too aggressive, or like, Finn's gonna break a stick, I'm gonna break a couch.
Yeah.
And then my Jake mistake was very small and specific. If we're gonna go there already,
let's get to the Jake mistake.
Making bacon pancakes.
They were doing he titty twisted Finn after Finn pulled his skin.
Yeah,
and as we know, that's like Jake's thing. He could stretch as far as he want, but it seemed to hurt him.
Think about that.
So does he let it hurt him, or does he just fake it for Finn like a dog sometimes just is your emotional support thing? Like it'll be whatever it needs to be for you.
Yeah, because I didn't think of, I guess when you think about stretchy powers, you don't think, unless you're thinking about like Mr. Fantastic in like Marvel, but like compression too. Like he technically could get pinched, and like compressing goes along with stretching. Especially because he can shrink himself too.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, oh man, I didn't think about that. Because I was like, that was the only one I thought was like evenly matched in terms of tough guy. Like, kind of like if you ever gotten like a bee sting or an Indian sunburn. Oh, I can't say that. I don't even know what it's called now.
The rub burn or something.
Yeah, something like that. And then, but I was like, yeah, I think breaking a couch is significantly tougher. But then I was like, oh.
So casual about it, too. It's such a quick shot.
And then round 2 was just like pinching a titty twist. And I was like, yeah, I remember, hey, dude, when I was in high school, that was kind of like everybody would mess with each other. And like titty twisters were like a big thing.
And the noise Finn made was accurate.
It's very accurate. I know for any girl fans out there, I hope that's never happened to you.
Yikes. Yeah.
For every boy fan that's out there, I'm pretty sure it's happened through your entire middle school experience.
Yeah, it just seemed like this. And by the way, this whole episode was kind of a Jake mistake. But to pick one,
I did that 2 episodes ago and was like, oh yeah, Jake's like whole thing this episode was a mistake, and we were like, no, we can't do that when Jake's going through a moral dilemma and just say it's a mistake. My Jake mistake though was like when Finn is trapped in the crystal ball, in the crystal dimension, it's like 3 guards, right? And he doesn't want to use violence. He doesn't want to bust these guys up. But that's what, kind of what you were saying about the pendulum aspect of it. There was a middle ground where I think he could have grown big, like snaked his hand into the room and grabbed like the entire crystal ball and like busted the crystal ball. He wouldn't have to do anything to the crystal guardians except for like push him out of the way,
or just like wrap them up in his infinite. You're right, but any of like that kind of stuff.
In the wrap up too, and like maybe that was Jake's fear this episode, is that anytime he uses his powers at all, even like accidentally, he might like hurt somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe he thought like, oh, if I wrap them up, maybe they'll like crack and into little like dust shards or whatever, crystal dust.
Combining sort of what Russell has said in a couple of his notes and one that I made, like he's making up these images of his father, obviously. And I'll get to Russell's theoretically speaking. It has a lot more to do with that later. But he's going way too hard just out of the gate. And he's got this deep memory where he hurt his brother and his dad said it's good to lose control. But if he was just taken 2 extra seconds, he would have heard what his dad had to say in his own mind. So is Jake just making this up, or is this a real memory where it's hard for him to escape how he was raised?
Well, I think if we take any experience from the past like that, especially when you're younger too, you miss like context clues, and you will be like, hey, this is what my dad said when I was younger. And if you told your dad that affected you so much and into your future, your dad would be like, you totally missed my point there. You grabbed onto one like part of what I was saying, but you missed the whole context of the situation. And I think that happens to all of us. Like we take things out of context, father figures aside. But I'm glad you bring up that kind of as our next point, is that we do have like multiple aspects of this episode. We had the tough guy competition, and that gets Jake in the mindset, and then we have the crystal dimension. But this weird little like middle story about, we've learned Jake has a brother. This is the first time Jerome's been mentioned in the show. And I was like, I had to think, like, did the like writers and storyboard people always have a plan to let Jake have another dog-based brother? Or were they just like, screw it, like we need more we need some more Jake history and Jake family history, and we're gonna have Finn family history. And I wonder if the writers were like, okay, give Jake a brother. We can get more episodes out of that,
It doesn't feel too forced though, which is nice. None of this show, like it could be either one, which is a cool idea about that. Like, you know, there's a lot of things to come in this show. And because I've seen more, I thought the crystal part of Jake was going to, because I've got them all out of order in my head. I thought this was going to be another significant moment in Jake's transformation. I'm kind of hinting right now without giving spoilers.
Oh, I know you mean Finn's transformation.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, you said Jake's transformation.
Sorry. Finn's transformation.
Yeah, for all our viewers out there that are Adventure Time fans, like the first thing that becomes a crystal on Finn's arm is his arm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you were like, oh, is it? They don't get to that later on in the show, how that's kind of a running archetype of Finn and all of his past Finnisms, quote unquote. So I won't even spoil that for people who are like watching through the show right now.
And I was getting confused though, and without spoiling, I was like, wow, if that's how this happens, Jake is the worst.
Yeah. But also, okay, to another point from the episode, would Finn as a crystal man and not really like losing any like mentality, like he still was Finn, he just was made of crystals now. I think he could have been a great functioning crystal Finn.
He was pretty stiff, but what are the pros and cons of being crystal?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he wouldn't be like human anymore, you know, that would be one thing, and because he's like the only human he knows. But at the same time, I'm like, he's all about adventuring. He wants to go out and save princesses, go out and beat bad guys. And I was like, kind of being, and I don't know. I don't know if these crystals are in this dimension are like crystal vases and crystal glasses where if they drop on the floor, they break, or if this is like hardcore diamond cut crystal Finn, you know? And so diamond cut crystal Finn would be like epic, man. I had a factoid here.
Lay it on me.
Yes.
Because I wanted to do it when we were talking about Crystal and Crystal Finn specifically. But they
lay it on me.
This was in the title card, which was really cool. It gave reference just based on the text in the title card that it was a design from the 1980s Marvel Comics, the saga of Crystar, Crystal Warrior. And I looked at that online and I was like, okay, I gotta see what this is. And literally, like whoever Crystar, the Crystal Warrior, is literally looks like all of those Crystal Guardians in Adventure Time. So I was like, I think that they were alluding to this was kind of a superpower type thing, you know? Sorry, that was a mouthful of factoid, but
no, that was really cool because we get into these moments in the show where weird or like specific words are said, and it's hard to know when they have meaning and when they're just bedoozle, you know?
And when they're just flim flam.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's an important one to notice because she used it as a name, and like that's much deeper than just the surface. There's a whole history behind that, and going to like, what is this apple crystal, which I'm sure we're going to touch on later in the episode. That's going to be its whole thing. But I think this is a good time to talk about Russell's, theoretically speaking, because we've already sort of touched on it. I don't want to get too far away from it.
Let's flow into that if it's flowing. Like we need to theoretically talk about this episode.
So I'm going to read what he kind of sent to me in the best paraphrase that I can. To Russell, Jake's dad is not a good dog. He's kind of a bad dad and a bad dog. He this ghost is filling in missing information that we don't know about Jake's past or his brother and all this stuff. Like what his dad said, being like, hurt everyone that is evil, or another paraphrase. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. And this could all be Jake trying to reconcile actually killing his brother. So these are fake memories. These are fabricated things that Jake has made up that never really happened. And this is, Russell says, this is him jumping to conclusions without irrefutable evidence. But he's haunted by a memory he had as a kid that could be totally fabricated for his own self-soothing.
Interesting. I mean, I can't really dispute that now because now I was like, oh, it's the first time Jerome's appeared. And
Right.
that kind of already spoiled his theoretically that Jerome is well and alive and a real person.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you wanted to take that a step further, you could say maybe Jake had fabricated a fake brother too, like that he never even existed, not just he was dead. In order to make this story make sense or something like that.
And I think the important part of that, theoretically speaking, is if it's a memory, why wouldn't Jake just remember
the good part about it?
The good part about it, and his dad saying, hurt everyone that is evil. Well, if that's a memory, that should just be automatic for Jake. But this is something maybe he's having to
that the last part of it,
over.
He's stepping in and going, he's fabricating the second part of the memory that he was like, oh, you didn't let me finish. It was hurt everything that's evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly do think that that's fabricated. Like, I don't think that that's actually what he said in the past. It was more of a, he had the memory. Because you remember how the memory itself, when we go and look into what he did to Jerome and punched him with a boxing glove or something, that's all like showing up as just normal. But when he's talking with his dad the second time and he appears, he is ghostly. So it is this projection of
that's a good point.
Jake's subconscious and his subconscious thoughts about his father. So I do think, it is probably what Joshua meant. And so I don't think Jake's like going too far as to say like he's wrong. But it also goes to show that Joshua was, a bad father. And we always, every time that comes up, man, we have to talk about it because that is an overarching theme of the show is that fathers fuck us up. Like, I'll just say it.
And it goes the Jake being a dog thing. Like, dogs that are fathers aren't known to hang around their kids.
Exactly.
We have to keep remembering that Jake is a dog.
Yeah. That the fathers are typically not around puppies. Like, dang. Oh, good theoretically speaking. Both you and Russell, y'all guys killed it on that one for sure.
Thank you. I honestly, I didn't even really think about that until y'all said it a long time ago. But now when I watch the show, all I'm thinking of is Jake is a dog, like Jake the dog. So everything that like with the emotional support, like he just wants to make Finn happy at moments, even to a fault. When he plays, sometimes he goes too hard, like we saw in this episode.
Yeah.
And his relationships and his relationship with his own potential children and his parents, like there is a theme of him, being an animal.
Yeah. Well, and it's so great that they are able to humanize the like psychological perspective of a dog like that.
Oh,
and like, here's what it's like. Yeah. Like dogs go too rough, but here's what like, pretty much he is a dog. He's doing all the dogisms, but they seem like peopleisms.
For sure.
Because a lot of the times, I would say like I've got a lesson we'll do in like later in the episode. It kind of gets into more of the psyche behind that and more of like an application and reflection on real life in that regard. But man, the last thing I think we need to, before we take a break, because I kind of want to just cover the episode and the things that happened and stuff like that, was like we get Tree Trunks back. She's massive. She's got crystal gem eyes, and she's like extra horny. It's so weird. Like if she was a little bit horny, like are the crystals bringing out who she truly is?
Oh, I've got the best comment on this.
Yes, because you were thinking the same thing, right?
Same exact thing, in even broader strokes. I thought so. She's always had a crush on Finn,
right?
And nothing is inherently evil. It is not bad to have a crush on someone. And she always was sort of innocent about that before the crystal. With the crystal, does it take your desires and sort of shroud them in this evil context where she was like, I'm going to take you as my lover prisoner instead of just like, I have a crush on you. It's manifesting this desire in an evil way. Whereas without the crystal, she was sweet on innocent Miss Tree Trunk.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a possibility. I would think more of a statement that it's kind of like maybe some people that are tiny and a little bit helpless, like Tree Trunks, or just the fact that we have humanity and we can suppress like desires and stuff like that. But when you get powerful, like people abusing power, that Tree Trunks, now she got to the crystal dimension. These things were worshiping her, and she got in her own head and was kind of like, now I can do whatever I want. And I can kidnap Finn and turn him into a crystal because, like, who's going to stop me?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I think it is. It's like Tree Trunks has got a little bit, and so it wasn't, I mean, I'm sure the crystals like made her a little bit more evil, but was it the crystal or was it the power getting to her head? That was like what I was thinking.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. Like, it was always there.
It was always there, but you can't act on, crazy desires if you don't have means to achieve it. But when that's, power corrupts absolutely or whatever. Absolute power corrupts absolutely is what it is. And I think that's what Tree Trunks happened. I'm not gonna chalk it up to evil gems, because honestly, the gem guys, the Crystal Guardians, they were kind of like chill bros. They were they weren't inherently evil either.
We should pick up with them right after the break.
Yeah,
that's a great thing to talk about.
Yes, I love it.
Be right back.
Do you feel like you want a purpose to your life? Do you feel like you've got skin as hard as diamonds? Do you feel like you're ready to get rock hard? Then enlist in the Crystal Guardian Army today. Find us at the nearest Crystal Gem Recruitment Center and sign up for a free Crystal Grenade bonus. Join today.
And welcome back to the podcast, travelers.
I know, dude. That was I think the funnest ad we've done so far.
Easily. I had the most fun making that of any ad, for sure.
I know. Plug into Soundstripe for hooking us up with some sweet sounds.
Absolutely. Those drums are huge.
I know. That actually, real ad here. They're not paying me except for my salary. I work for Soundstripe. You guys don't know. But yeah, that's where we get all of our music and our little ditties and any music-based stingers except for the theme song we get from them. They're bomb.
They are bomb.
But I thought I've got some factoids to throw your way. Figured we would talk about it in case it brought up some laughs and some conversation. First thing I wanted to say is Urban Dictionary's definition of a crystal girl. Because I was like, Tree Trunks is definitely a crystal girl in this episode, right? Like, let's see if she fits the description here. A crystal girl is a girl who carries around crystals everywhere she goes and usually wears dramatic eyeliner and has dyed hair. Most crystal girls are very spiritual and often try to make their non-spiritual friends buy crystals. They're also very energetic and bring positive energy into your life. I'd say Tree Trunks kind of fits that description, man.
As soon as I see her burn some sage, I'm 99% there. But I mean,
she's burning sage. She has her makeup moments. Remember when she's in the dark forest in the first episode? There was one moment where she starts crying and like her eyeliner's running. So she definitely wears heavy makeup. I don't think she has hair that she could dye, but she is a yellow elephant. And she is trying to make Finn, a non-crystallite, a crystal. So that's kind of like the bringing your friends in. And she brings positive energy into people's life whenever she's not demonically possessed by crystal apples.
Never mind. I'm 100%. That's all I needed to hear.
I know. I was like, I wanted to find that and be like, how is Tree Trunks like a crystal girl? So apologies to anybody out there that is a crystal person, but you couldn't blame us for wanting to at least make that connection in this episode.
You got to be able to laugh at yourself.
Exactly. A couple other fun facts, a little less like on my own tangent. So Joshua is confirmed to be dead in this episode. They had talked about Jake's dad in previous episodes, had never really talked about where he was he just distant, but they did confirm that in this one. And this is the first episode to be storyboarded by Jesse Moynihan. I hope I'm saying that. Moynihan. I just thought that was interesting. I saw some interesting animations in this episode, so I was like, okay, this is probably the same animators, but storyline was a little bit different. Maybe he wrote some of Jake's like shapes into this episode. Some of the,
I think it's Moynihan just because of a Rick and Morty episode.
Really?
They shout this show out all the time, and it's an interdimensional cable, and they're like,
yeah.
I'm blanking on the first name, but something Moynihan. And
maybe it is him then, because then I didn't dig deep because I was like, if we just see that name again on who's storyboarded episodes, we'll point back to this. It's his first episode, so I didn't dig into maybe. So let's check that. Like fact check us on that. And
Cool.
we'll go dig into some Rick and Morty stuff too, which would be really cool.
And travelers, please always be fact checking us. We would love to be proven wrong. We'll talk about it on the next episode.
Yeah, we'll always correct us. We had somebody correct us on a few things, and we brought it up, and it made the content really better. Honestly, makes us better Adventure Time stewards of the story. 2 more. Jake tries to intimidate the Crystal Guardians when he is using his like controlled attacks. But he changes his size and his voice to look like Fezzik from The Princess Bride when he's like trying to intimidate the guards, and it's like hitting you with controlled punches. I can't do the voice. And then lastly, the little ditty that Jake sings about control is the same melody as the classic song "Hey Ho, Nobody Home," which I had to YouTube. I'd never heard, but apparently it's kind of like this nursery rhyme thing. So that's already hitting you with the facts that episode, man.
I love your facts, Ned. They're always so insightful.
And at least a little fun. I want to get to some crazy episode that's got some fact that was like, did you know the studio burned down when they made this episode? Like, I don't know. I need some crazy ones too.
So let's talk about Lovelies, because the whole episode had a hard time coming up with one, and then both you and Russell separately agreed on a Lovely, and now I feel ridiculous that I'm like, of course, that's exactly what
they
it
were
used to
staring
be.
you right in the face the whole time. The Crystal Guardians.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Just doing their thing, man, and they love tree trunks. They're not aggressive. They're just like doing their thing.
One of them's like, man, I got to go take a major crystal donk, man. He was like, you're disgusting.
Russell compared them to stormtroopers.
Yeah, because they kind of seem goofy. Kind of seem like a little bit off, kind of seem like they're doing their job, but if anything were to inconvenience them, they'd probably be like, I did my best, That's why I was like, it's the funniest, opponent that Jake faces is that he could easily beat these guys up, and I don't think that they would really care very much, but he chooses not to.
Yeah, they didn't really, I wonder what it would take for them to actually fight back, because if they were, malicious bad guys, they would have just started hitting Jake, but they were just kind of following orders. They weren't doing anything more or anything less than what they were told to do.
Yeah, they would have captured Jake and tried to just turn him into a crystal too. But they were like, just go away, bro. I don't know. That was really fun. I wanted to see if you noticed this one thing, and I had a really great kind of it's not a theoretically speaking, but it's kind of here's what I interpreted maybe the writers were doing to a certain degree, is that when Jake decides that he's going to be passive from now on, he's not going to be violent tendency Jake. Did you notice that the animation of Jake changed? He wasn't his normal shape for that whole time. So through the episode, he was squanched a little bit, and then he rolls up like a burrito shape, and then he's he just looks
small. He's internally and just emotionally small. I had a lot of reach outs is kind of the wrong thing of what I'm trying to say. I had a lot of comparisons to therapy with this episode. Just if only therapy worked how Jake worked through his own a trial and error. He went through his own quote trauma when he hurt Jake. I mean, when he hurt Finn. Of course, Finn was the one who was actually hurt, but Jake lost a little bit of his identity when he hurt Finn, and so he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to lose control anymore. I'm just going to be controlled." But he just swung. We talked about that pendulum back the other way. And, Finn came up and he's like, "You look like a wuss," because he was like a little potato there for a second. I didn't pay too much attention to his body language, except for the fact I noted it.
Yeah.
But I just was obviously he's not ready for action right now. He's held back. He's reserved. He's not in a fighting stance. He's just kind of little squishy Jake.
Well, the funny thing, normal Jake is normal Jake looking when he's doing anything, when he's eating ice cream, when he's making everything burrito. And I thought it was just so funny that the whole time that he is suppressing an emotion, it takes a physical toll on him, which I was like, ooh, this is really cool pull out here that physically Jake is changed from this suppressed he's emotionally he's not acting himself, he's not being himself, and it shows physically. And I was like, that's a really interesting application in the real world when you are suppressing who you are to fit a mold or to think that you're changing for the better, when it's like, dude, you have to like own this part of you. Like, and it's not bad. It's a thing that you can balance or work on or practice. But that emotional suppression can actually cause like physical, and I wouldn't say ailments, but yeah, physical change.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting.
I think that's super interesting. And I'm glad you said it that way, because it kind of fits along with that, like getting through trauma and dealing with your own things that I was thinking through the whole episode of. And it doesn't work this fast. Nobody think that you can just like in a span of 10 minutes, like get through all of your emotional, issues that you have going on. But when he did finally get over himself, for lack of a better term, he popped right back up and he was ready to rumble. Normal Jake again.
Yeah. Well, and he's done that too. Remember, like, was it Witch's Garden, where he's like, I learned my lesson. No, I didn't. And he just pops back up and just keeps doing his normal thing. So who even knows, like, if he truly learned a lesson or not, except for the fact that he's okay with punching people again. So I wanted to ask you too, on this episode specifically, what was your tops of this episode? Like, there's a lot. There was like kind of, I would say, like three little: Jake and his dad, the tough guy competition, and then like the crystal kind of stories within this one. And wanted to know if anything stood out to you as a tops.
I think just it has to be, and I've been scrounging my brain because I don't want it to be for some reason, but the tough guy competition, like that's just them doing their thing, like, and it's not toxic in any way. It's just them having fun.
So you got a house full of brothers. You know about tough guy competitions.
When we were left to our own devices at home, we would set up couch cushions in the shape of a gladiator arena and just beat each other with sticks. Like, that's how having three younger brothers goes.
Yeah. And you would win all the time?
I was normally the moderator because I was so much bigger than my two younger brothers.
I was just watching them beat the shit out of each other.
I was just playing Caesar, and I was like, "You will fight for my gratification."
I love that, though.
This is a true story. It happened more than once.
Michael was so much of the tough guy that he's like, I don't even do these plebeian tasks anymore. I moderate the tough guy competitions. The alpha complex that gets in your head as the oldest for no reason. And now it's funny, like my second youngest brother is significantly taller than any of us. And my youngest brother is on his way to be the most athletic and biggest of all of us. Doesn't matter, though. You've already established the alpha
it'll
complex.
Never matter. Yeah. Like, it's still two for flinching all day.
Good to
long.
go. You're ultimate. You won that competition by being firstborn, right? Like, you don't have to worry about tough guys.
I worked so hard for that too.
I had to beat up so many 5-year-olds for that. Oh man. Well, I had tops of the episode, and this was a subtle one. But the music in this episode was great. 2 moments specifically, they did the transition of Jake falling asleep and then Finn falling asleep and waking up. Jake stayed up all night, it looked like. But they had this really very calming and like very almost non-cartoony acoustic little transfer. So if you guys watched the episode already, go back and just watch that like 30-second clip. It's great. I was like, this is really good music. And then they end the episode on a freaking K-pop song, like them and tree trunks all hold hands and fly out of the crystal dimension, and it's like and I was like, this is awesome, like totally random K-pop song. So that was my tops of the episode, was just the way they incorporated very unique music in this one.
I love that tops. This show is it's refreshing musically. It's honestly like there's no stakes with any of the music, and it just gets me back to like even reminding myself that it's not so serious. I remember making the first episode and just being like, it probably took me 15 minutes to make our intro. I was like, just slap some stuff down and just improvise it. Don't think it too seriously, and it's timeless, you know?
No. Yeah, well, it's going down in history, man. Come on.
Literally, we're 40 episodes in. I'm just going to keep making up new numbers.
We're 106 episodes in right now.
You guys have no idea.
This is bananas. Oh man! Well, as we go to the last little segment of the podcast here and talk about deep life lessons, I wanted to see if you I mean, we talked about some deep stuff already. I was like, dang, we kind of knocked out that deep stuff. But like, what stood out to you as like the big one? I mean, big one for me was the father issues and misconstruing. We already talked about that, but wanted to see if you had anything different or anything specific there.
Without going over what we've already talked about, it's kind of difficult to come up with another lesson because I think my lesson originally just encompassed like go to therapy and work through stuff that is changing your physical and mental demeanor. I'll just steal Russell's.
Yeah, hit us with Russell's, man.
Being a tough boy is overrated.
Being a tough boy is overrated. It's kind of true. Everybody wants those soft guys now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know if I agree with that.
No, it's like your body tells you to work out and society tells you to not, depending on what society you're looking at these days.
Awesome. Well, I mean, so mine fits maybe like in the middle of those, or in the middle of those two concepts of like, tough guys are overrated. I said you have to alter the methods in which you deal with people based on who they are. Like, because Finn hurt Jake, it was accidental. That doesn't mean like he's going to hurt everybody. But maybe when he's getting tough and when he's using stretchy powers, that he should tone it down a little bit when he's with Finn. And I think he does. Like he kind of learns that later on. You see them, actually there's this great episode down the road when Finn and Jake like truly start fighting each other. It's the episode where they're trying to fight the farm. And they just get into this massive, huge fight. And basically by the end of it, Jake really hurts Finn, like really bad, and on purpose. So, but the lesson behind that kind of being that we can do that with our friends too. Like that's the hard part is when, defending yourself emotionally, when you're doing with a stranger that's coming at you, being aggressive, being an evil person, like you don't care what you do to them emotionally. Like you could tear them to shreds. I'm not saying go out there and like online bully people or anything, but like be defensive. Be like, but if if me and you or me and Russell got into some sort of argument, like I know you so well, like I have the ability to like know what gets to the core of you and crush you, but you have to learn how to like hone that in. Like you say, don't swing the pendulum. Don't be like a wiener and don't, just be like, oh yeah, walk all over me, but don't swing to the other side and completely obliterate that person. That goes for all relationships, marriages, dating relationships, friendships. Like find that pendulum on how to resolve issues and how to fight healthily without massively crushing each other under each other's like your quote unquote stretchy powers being I can tear you emotionally to shreds if I wanted, or something like that. I don't know. That was long winded. I didn't know how to phrase that right.
No, and that's why it's hard to be vulnerable with people. It's hard to
because you're giving them like cannon fodder if they were to be that type of aggressive person.
I think part of life is finding out, who will burn you that way, and I think it happens to everyone, and it makes it harder for the next time. But your best friends in life will know pretty much everything about you, and hopefully they hold you accountable for the things you don't like about yourself.
Yeah, and a good way to put it too, for sure. And don't eat crystal gem apples either. They're not worth it. You break your teeth. I can't ever watch these episodes and look at that apple and be like, she takes a bite out of it. Oh shoot, man! Totally forgot to mention like the error in this show. And then maybe this is a good place to kind of cap off the podcast. There's like in the first season, Tree Trunks takes a bite out of the crystal apple, but then when they kick her in the stomach, the whole thing is there. Like it's not just the one bite,
Oh, I love attention to detail and like that. That's why this podcast is important. Like we're not nitpicking the show, but like those are the things to notice because the show deserves it.
Yeah.
Like every detail, just like with some words have a lot of meaning and some words have next to none. It's kind of up to us to do the homework there.
Yeah. And well, now I got to think out there in the universe, there was obviously a half-eaten crystal gem apple out there in the woods that nobody touched anymore.
Do you think it could have like
does that
magically
Oh yeah,
forms.
I guess if it came, if she got transported to the dimension, maybe the rest of the apple like whoosh, like went back, and it's still like the one legendary apple or something like that.
But she coughed up the apple.
Yeah,
and all I'm gonna say is, when's that thing gonna come back around? Because they just happily walked through the portal that it made, and they're going home. That apple still exists.
Yeah, no, it's like that's what I was thinking. Is like, did anybody close? Like, how is that portal going to get closed? Who is in possession of the crystal gem apple? Like,
beauty of this cartoon is it does have, like, while it is canon, there are certain things that just get, they get Family Guide. They just left.
Oh, you can't give it that. Like,
no, I'm not comparing it to the.
But it's awesome though, because that does mean when we're only on season 2 right now, like by season 9, you're like I was watching the finale a few years ago when it first came out, and I was like, bro, like anything could happen. They could bring in. They've got so much stuff, and they've done such a good job of bringing in stuff from the first couple of seasons into the later seasons. I was like, it's a limitless possibility, which is why this stuff in the show, when little things come up, you have to have that moment of like, oh, it came up again. This is amazing. But man, this was fun, man. I feel like we pulled more out of this one than I expected.
Yeah, the episode when I was watching it earlier, I was like, this one's so by so fast. I had to watch it again to get more notes on it, but it's been fun to talk about, and there was definitely plenty of not tangents to go down.
Yeah. That's what we miss Russell. We miss Russell and his tangents too.
Yeah.
Bring us for good content. But thank you guys again. You guys have been killing it. Oh my gosh. Keep sharing TikToks or liking TikToks, commenting on TikToks. We have gotten so much good engagement from you guys there, and brought a lot of new fans and listeners to the podcast through TikTok. So that's been major. But again, do everything like possible. Listen to us on Spotify, like us, review us on Apple Podcasts if you want. Mike, hit us with the, what do you call them? The tags, if you have them listed.
Yeah. Instagram is Neverending Adventure Podcast. TikTok is Neverending Adventure Cast. Twitter is NEA_podcast. And our email is NEA.travelerslog@gmail.com. Party forever, friends.
Just love it when you say that. It just sounds so good.
Sounds so good.
Sounds delicious. Well, thank you guys. We love you.
Love you guys. Apple pie in the oven. Tell me you taste the lovin'. We're hugging and bumping. This podcast is thumping. Like 2 butts of rumpin' or 2 angels a hummin'. Fly as Tom Petty, we learnin'. Till we die like Vader, we burnin'.